Hi guys, welcome back to the third and final installment of our problem solving in time study. So for this discussion, we will be talking about the determination of the sample size. Now, why do we need to compute or to know how many samples or cycles must be obtained in order for us to complete a time study? Ang time study kasi should be very reliable enough. That's why we need to know the appropriate number of samples at a given confidence level and an acceptable level of error. So, mas madaming sample size, mas reliable yung ating magiging time study. And to do that, we'll be needing the following formula, which is N is equal to your ZS over ET quantity squared, where your Z is the number of standard deviations from the mean, S is the sample standard deviation from the sample time study, T is the average job cycle time from the sample time study, and E is the marginal error or the level of acceptability of our study. So we want to know ilan ba talaga ang reliable samples for our time study. Now, we usually use a set of Z values for a given confidence level, and here are the common Z values for each corresponding confidence level. So, for 90%, so we will be needing 1.65. For 95% confidence, that's 1.96. For 95.5, that's 2. 98 is 2.33, and 99 is 2.58. Now, if you are familiar with the Z values, so this is commonly seen in a two-tail test for the C test. Now let's go for the first example. A restaurant conducted a time study for 10 cycles of a job assembling ham and cheese sandwiches. The average time was 0.361 minute and the standard deviation of the sample is 0.03 minute. The restaurant wants to determine the number of cycles for a job or for the time study such that it can be 95% confident that the average time computed from the time study is within the 5% of the true average cycle time. Now, initially, sample sizes can be computed after we have conducted a preliminary time study. So, for our given information, so we will be writing the given data. First is your T, which is 0.361 minute, or actually the average observed time of the preliminary time study. Second is to note the standard deviation of the time study sample, which is 0.03 minute. Next is the confidence level that we want to attain, which is 95%. And lastly, the acceptable level of error, which is 5%. Now, we need to know what is the corresponding Z value at a given confidence level of 95%, and that is 1.96. Now, for our solution, again, we will be just plugging in the following information in our formula that was shown earlier. And that will be 1.96 multiplied by 0.03 over 0.05 times 0.361, and that's quantity squared. So that should give us a value of 10.61 or rounded up to 11 samples. Now, take note that when we compute for the sample size, we always round up our values. Now, what does the 11 samples signify? Now, if we go back to the given problem, the preliminary time study already conducted 10 cycles of the job. So, yung 11 samples, ibig sabihin, they need a total of 11 samples to be 95% confident that their error is 5%. Now, since naka 10 samples na tayo, we'll only be needing one more additional sample to attain the desired confidence level and error. So, for this example, we will be needing 11 samples or one more sample from the 10 cycles that were already conducted. Next, for example 2, Romel and Leo recently time-studied a janitorial task. From a sample of 75 observations, they computed an average cycle time of 15 minutes with a standard deviation of 2 minutes. What is the computed sample size large enough that one can be 99% confident that the standard time is within the 5% of the true value? Now, you might be wondering, di ba dapat the confidence level should be a complement of the error? So, no. So, you can be 99% confident that your error is 5%. You can be 99% confident that your error is 3%. So, meaning, confidence level and the level of error does not need to be complementary. So, ibig sabihin, pwede silang hindi mag-add up to 100%. Okay? Now, let's go to the solution. So, for the given information, our average observed time daw is 15 minutes out of the 75 initial study that was conducted. The standard time or the standard deviation is 2 minutes. Your confidence level that you want to achieve is 99% for an error of 5%. Now, again, from our list of common z-values, for a given confidence level of 99%, the z-value is equivalent to, so sinabi dyan na 75 yung initial observations. And then yung z-value natin from the table is 2.58. So, yung ating n is simply by plugging in the formula. That's 2.58 times 2 over 0.05 times 15 quantity squared, and that should give us a value of 47.33 samples, or rounded up to 48 samples. Now, what does that number signify? Now, take note that initially, Romel and Leo already conducted 75 observations. So, ibig sabihin, their observations is already enough to conclude that their study is already reaching or has already reached the desired level of 99% confidence at an error of 5%. Okay, so this concludes the last series of our discussion. So if you have further questions on how to solve more problems, you can comment down below the video and I will be very glad to answer your questions. Thank you for watching and hope to see you soon in the next video.